So, humanity has been given ancient scriptures to help us to navigate through this time period that we're in right now. But the hard thing with those ancient scriptures are they have been translated and projected into a biblical slash religious understanding, which takes away from the actual true meaning of a lot of the parables that Jesus spoke about in his time, and the messages that he was giving were actually very connected to what we're going through right now, through what humanity is experiencing. If you get my book, Parables for a New Earth, you will see some correlation between biblical text and what the wisdom keepers share as far as the messages of Christ consciousness awakening, ascension, what is happening in the energetic field, how to navigate the ascension. Like there's so many different messages that come through the wisdom keepers in my book, Parables for a New Earth. And each parable has a different frequency and a light code in which it presents to the reader. So, what's interesting as I have opened myself up more to the channeling with this ascended team, this light team that I work with, they often bring into my mind things that come from the biblical text and help me to translate that into something that might be tangible for us to understand what is happening in the world right now as far as the ascension. So, I want to talk to you particularly today about one of the parables that Jesus spoke about. And I'm going to reference this. I have the verse over here written down. It is in Luke 14. So if you are interested or you have any biblical background, such as myself, if you don't know, I actually attended a Bible college in my early 20s and have a degree in the Bible. So it's really interesting since I had my awakening in 2016, how the things I learned within the charismatic Christian biblical teachings, how they translate into an awakened way of being instead of really just what Jesus talked about when he brought the frequencies to earth to help the ascension. So when Jesus came to earth at the beginning around the age of Pisces 2,500 years ago, he brought in the light codes that would begin to assist us now that we are tapping back into to move us into Christ consciousness awakening. So, in this parable in Luke 14, verses 15 through 24, particularly if you're interested in that part of it, it tells about a host that prepares a great feast and invites many people. So, in the original text, the parable Jesus spoke to the people that were listening, disciples and on stand, the people that came to listen to his teachings. What in this parable, he talks about how the banquet, the man who came up with the banquet that prepared the banquet, basically talks about it was kind of a man that prepared a table for a bunch of people to come eat. And so he went out and he sent his servants out into the public to go gather the people that he would normally associate with. And the way that I see this in my mind is people that have money, like of wealth, people that kind of are in the same status is what I would see. And what ended up happening is when the servants went to go tell these individuals to come join the banquet, to come eat with the master, they came up with excuses. They said, well, I have to work, or I have just bought this new thing I have to tend to, or there's a death in my family, I need to attend this funeral, or whatever it might be. They begin to come up with excuses. I can't attend because I have obligations that I have. And so when the servants came back to the master and said, there's no one that's coming, they all are busy doing something else. The master then says, okay, well then go and invite the people off the streets, go invite the poor, go invite the sick, go invite the outsiders, go invite the people that don't fit in to the norm, like what we would call the status that we are in. And so really invite anyone willing to come and eat at the banquet. Be open to anybody. And so I found this really interesting when Spirit began to speak to me about this a day or so, um, where I began to see the insights energetically about what this message was actually trying to portray. And I believe we're seeing that taking place on earth right now. That the Christ consciousness, the unity consciousness that has come into the earth at this time is calling people out of their regular norm, out of the ideas, the structures, the programming in which we have been taught to be a human, um, the hustle culture, the status culture, the idea that I am worthy based on what I do, kind of a thing. Basically, remembering that there's more to who we are as individuals than just the status quo of coming to earth, working, falling in line, kind of being a sheep, following the crowd, or trying to achieve materialistic wealth or things on the earth, things that don't matter once we shift into back into our higher conscious mind, back into the higher dimensions, when we leave, basically die and go back to heaven or the higher dimensions that we come from. And so, what I find really interesting is the calling out to the people were the you can see the energetic shift and the split that is taking place within the banquet calling. So calling out to those who are still very focused on 3D activities, still very focused on material gain, still very focused on staying in the same mindset that has been on earth for thousands of years. And then you have the other side who are awakening into a higher consciousness, that are moving away from that. They're feeling called to step into more love, more unity, more purpose. Those who are receiving more light codes in their energy field and awakening to gifts and to ideas beyond the human logic. So really stepping out of that egotistic thinking and shedding and deconstructing and healing the ideas that were put on us as humans based on our life experience. And so what this parable is actually talking about is that the ascension isn't about the obligation of doing something. The ascension is not something we earn. It's not something we work at. Like, we cannot ascend by working harder at our job. That's not going to do it. The ascension is a call that we answer and a response that we give to the energetic field around us. So when we have an awakening, when we step into the realm of a Christ conscious thinking, it's a response and not like we're not earning something to awaken. It is a responding to the awakening. And so what's interesting is what we see in this split is those who were first invited to the banquet table, they're attached to the identities, the roles, the productivity, the control system. They are prioritizing their survival needs over the truth of their soul calling. So they're really saying no to the ascension awakening, and they're saying yes to the comfort and familiar energy and the ego understanding of the human experience. And so this has caused them to limit their ability to connect or understand those who are going through the awakening process. And this is what is causing an energetic split in the minds of humans. So these are the people that are not ready to release the density. Now, from source energy's perspective, for higher frequency looking down at earth, there is no such thing as behind or before or ahead. Like, everything is one conscious energy. And so even those who are not in the awakening stage play a role to help the awakened awake. If we didn't have something to awake from, we wouldn't be awakening, if that makes sense. So what is happening is that we are seeing a distinct shift, and everybody is being invited to the banquet table. but only some are going to respond and accept the invitation. And I have been told for many months now that 2026, this year that we are currently in, starting around March, moving on, there is going to be a very big cosmic shift in the energetic field in which consciousness of those who are answering the call and awakening are going to accelerate in the speed of their conscious awareness and understanding of who they are as a divine being of light, as spiritual beings, and their conscious understanding is going to move more into a frequency in the 5D. It's not necessarily we're going to be moving fully into new earth or into 5D this year, but there is a preparation in the energetic field and an invitation that's coming towards humanity at this time to do so. And I hear spirit saying it is up to us to answer that call. Like, we have to be willing to receive the invitation and then respond to the invitation. And sometimes the invitation requires us shedding things in our life that can't go with us. So, illusions that we have created around our identity, roles that we've created around our identity, connections that we have created around our identity. Like, the hard thing is, like, this split really does pull us out of our egos attachments and more into a spiritual comprehension of who we are. And that's why ascension and healing is not necessarily an easy thing to navigate, because it requires a complete deconstructing and rebuilding of your identity, to be completely honest. So a lot of us that are in this ascending process have come from trauma. We have come from things that have caused us to forget who we are. And that's why in the shedding, in the awakening, in the answering of the call to move forward, we are also having to do deep energetic healing work and to release what we have held on to in our ego and in our physical body, which is why a lot of us have ascension symptoms, to keep ascending into higher frequencies. So what I see happening this year particularly is that the door into new earth is cracking open more. It's like we're getting a little bit more of a glimpse into that frequency, and we're going to see a more distinct shift in the human consciousness where some people are not going to answer the call and some will. Now, with the way spirit shows this to me in my energy field, in my mind's eye, is that this is waves of awakening. So it's not that if you don't suddenly start to feel something around March, April, May, whatever this year, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen for you. It just means there's some integration taking place in your energy field, and to pay attention to the attachments that you have around me. Are you attached to a connection or a job or something that could be completely hidden in the shadows of your energy? Like, there's so many things that we don't even know we have sometimes in our energy field that hold us in a dense frequency. And so allowing yourself to see things by shining light into a pattern, it could be simply a trigger that comes up for you once in a while. Like, some of us that stand into this teaching role or this healing role, or we feel like we're supposed to be moving in this, we might struggle with some imposter syndrome or comparison of like, well, this person does this, I should do this, or I'm not doing this, so I'm not as good. So that frequency that is residing in your energy keeps you stuck because you're constantly looking outside of yourself to fill yourself up. So everything that we move forward in is going to come from within. It's going to become coming from the heart chakra of our connection with our divine self, not necessarily from outward things. It doesn't mean you don't go to healers, you don't go to teachers, you don't learn things. It just means that when you pull in that knowledge into your quantum field, into the energy field of who you are, you allow that to navigate based on the frequency you hold, and then reside in that without conforming to having to look and be like someone else. because everybody's gifts are unique. They may be the same gift, but not the same gift is always going to be used the same exact way in every frequency and every individual. And so those of us that are here that are in that first wave of shifting into the higher consciousness in the next month, we are going to be the grid workers, the light workers, the frequency anchors, the ones that come in and help prepare the table for more to step into that. And so the table is being prepared even now for this awakening wave to begin. And over the next years, and I mean, this is going to be taking place for quite a while, you guys. So don't anticipate by like the end of year this year or next year we're going to be a new earth. That's not what this is about. This is about an expansion, because we have to integrate into this energy, just like we've had to integrate through like a 4D frequency, which I can explain about that sometime more. But we also have to integrate more into a 5D frequency. So there's some of us that are going to be tapping more into that energy field as a preparation, preparing the banquet table for more to attend, and then sending out the call for others to then come join us in that conscious frequency that we will be shifting into. So Spirit is really saying at this time, the ascension is happening for everyone. No one is actually ever going to be left behind in this, but participating in the banquet, participating in living in the embodiment in the higher consciousness is a choice that we make moment by moment. We make the choice to continue things or to shed things in our life. And it doesn't mean you have to let go of everything at once. That means that you start listening to your soul's prompts and you start taking little baby steps toward those soul prompts. And before you know it, where you are now will be completely foreign to where you will be in the future. So I hope this helps whoever needed to hear this. Again, if you have any questions for me, feel free to comment, leave that below. I would love to hear from you as well. Please make sure you subscribe, like, and share if you would please, so I can continue to grow this channel for people. And I look forward to being with you again. I wish you the best day, night, evening, whatever time it is for you. I send you all the universal love. Namaste.